And it's recording.
All right. Woo! Here we go. What's up, Facebook world? I am here with my friend Ralph Havens, and we are going to talk to you today about how to end anxiety. And Ralph here, I'm going to have him talk and introduce himself in just a minute. But we work on some of the same processes and procedures. And Ralph has a wonderful, wonderful story about how he ended his anxiety. And he's going to share that with us today, as well as a process that we both use to really understand that you can get energy out of your body very, very quickly sometimes to completely erase problems, issues, even pain that you experience physically, mentally, and emotionally. And this is actually the process that we've both used to end anxiety and depression. And so we're going to share that with you today, along with some phrases that you can use. And I have a freebie for you. Actually, Ralph has a freebie as well that will bring you through the process. And my freebie is all about different phrases that you can say. And so we're going to work together today to give you basically a full-on overall process that you can use to completely end your anxiety, your sadness, your depression, anything that you might be feeling that is giving you any sort of pain or unhappiness. So without further ado, Ralph, I would love for you to introduce yourself a little bit, tell us what you do and how you ended your anxiety.
Thank you, Katie. I'm so excited to do this with you. And yeah, we've known each other quite a while, and we've both been going down this road of helping people solve the anxiety, depression things. And right now, it's so important, as we know, right? It's like it's at an all-time high. I mean, I literally got yelled at yesterday on the trail running with our little group of friends, and some guy was just so unsettled, and he was just having a hard time. And so we see it in our clients and our friends and all sorts of stuff. So it's so important, and we both solved it. So what happened with me is, I just a quick story about it. But basically, I had a really crazy thing where I had severe anxiety, but worse than that, I had this sweaty hand problem and sweaty feet problems, and my whole body would just sweat. And it was around certain. It happened just when I wasn't stressed. It happened when I was stressed. If there was certain people around me, certain types of people, like especially men, especially big men, especially powerful or rich men, it was the worst. And for some reason, I decided to go into physical therapy. I think because I thought, well, I used to run a lot. I still run, but I used to run a lot, 70 to 100 miles or more a week. And it helped me relax, but I did it because I loved running too. But I forgot where I was going with this. But anyway, I wanted to do something with, like, what do I do? Because I was out of college, and I thought I should do something besides being a waiter at a restaurant. And I thought, well, I could be a physical therapist. I don't want to be a doctor because I don't want to take away my time, because I wanted to run a lot of miles. It was what I am. And so I thought, well, I'll be a physical therapist. And so I picked a profession where you put your hands on people. So now I was like sweating and trying to like have workarounds to not put my hands on people. And my whole wish, my whole prayer to God was just solve this one thing. I don't even care if the anxiety goes away, just stop the sweaty hand thing. And I did really crazy workarounds. I mean, I literally electrocuted my hands like every few months because it would numb out my fingers, and then they would be dry. So I was doing crazy things. But I had this thing of like, there's got to be a way to solve this sweaty hand thing. And I somehow found a bunch of alternative health, physical therapy and osteopathic and chiropractic healers, teachers that started me down this road of healing. So I started a practice in San Diego, and that was a funny thing. I'll just real quick, it's just going longer than I thought, but I had a friend, a mentor, who was getting these amazing results with this type of French osteopathic healing stuff. And so I was studying that stuff, and he says, Ralph, you should come work for me. And I said, great, I'm going to work for my mentor. And he goes, yeah, just come to the office and on this afternoon day, and you can work on my neck, and I can check out your hands, and we'll work together. And I was like, work on your neck? He's going to know how I'm like sweating on people. And so I literally said, I emailed, I thought, what do I do? And so I emailed him. I said, hey, Neil, I decided to start my own practice so I won't be needing to go work for you. I literally started my own practice because I was so full of fear that I would have to touch my mentor. And but I started on this road and I found a healer that started to really get to stuff. And it healed a lot more than just that. But my anxiety went away, my sweaty hand thing went away. And for years, I just kept quiet because I thought, I don't want it to jinx it and come back. But then it was like, it was good. And so I figured it out. And it's been a process, right? It's not like it was one thing, but it was a series of things. But now I've got a framework that I can help people clear that really quickly. And like our freebies that we're giving away, it's a lot of our real precise stuff. So I'm excited to be here because it doesn't have to take years like it did for me now. It can be it can be faster. So that's my story, a little longer than I thought.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing. And yes, the process that we use is actually documented by Dr. David Hawkins in the book, Letting Go, The Pathway to Surrender, where he talks about how you don't have to spend years and years and years in therapy, really reliving. I mean, therapy is a wonderful thing. Therapy helped me so much when I was going through my depression, but you can immediately resolve some of the things that you're feeling without even knowing why they're being caused. And so I think that's really what is so powerful about this technique that we're going to share, is that, even if whether you know the root of the problem or if you don't know the root of the problem, you get to the root of the emotion. And when you get to the root of the emotion, because all of this energy stays stored in your body throughout your entire lifetime, your cells absorb every experience you've ever had. So if you're not consciously letting go of that energy can get stuck in your body, therefore creating pain, illness, disease. And when you do the work to acknowledge what it is that you're feeling, then that allows that energy to move through, which it wasn't doing before, and therefore resolves a lot of these issues that are, in turn, they're really symptoms of this energetic block. So I would love for you to take us through this process a little bit and tell us why it's so easy to let go. And you also have a special extra training, if you will, with the matrix energetics that I would love for you to also mention, because we are really doing this healing on a quantum level. However, we are both healers, but we don't actually do the healing. We are just channeling the energy, which knows what to do so the body can heal itself. So Ralph, I would love to have your take on this and a little bit of explanation on how you bring people through this process and what this process is.
Yeah, that's great. I loved your explanation. And yeah, that's how we met, was through the group that taught us this process. And so it's funny, the backstory of how I found it is kind of cool. And yeah, David Hawkins' book, Letting Go, I've read it like at least 5 times, and it's like the go-to book of how to do this thing. But even reading it, if I didn't have the part I'm going to tell you, I would have missed it again. And what I found was, so the backstory is, my friend in San Diego told me, you got to check out this guy, Christian Michelson. And I got to give a shout out to Christian. And I checked out his stuff and I was like, oh, this is too simple. I'm like this matrix energetics practitioner and I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on my training. And this guy is just a business coach. It's like, what? Yeah. And he told us this process. And I thought, yes, very simple, nice job, good work, keep doing your work. And I missed it. And then my friend from San Diego kept saying, you got to check him out. Cause he's like, I watched him do all this stuff and people were running to the back of the room paying him. And I counted it out like hundreds of thousands of dollars after he was on stage for like an hour and a half. And I'm like, what? So I looked again and I saw he had that book, Abundance Unleashed. So, and I give a big shout out to Christian because I don't think I would have found it even with David Hawkins' book. But anyway, so I found the book, and at the time we had moved up to the Pacific Northwest, and I knew I could do healing work online and help people energetically over the internet. And I'll talk about the matrix energetics, but I didn't know how to do it as a business. And so I had already Googled business coaches for distance healers. And I was with a coach and we were making progress, and I was getting clients and people were finding me through our YouTubes and all that stuff. But it was still like, it was work. And it was like, oh my goodness, how are we doing this? I got a wife and just one boy at the time. Now we have two. But so I bought the book and I thought, I saw a little thing that said, oh, for a couple $100 more, you can get this little course. And I thought, oh, I want to see how he sells it. So I clicked the button and it said, congratulations, you bought it. And I'm like, no, I don't have the money. So I was trying to like unclick myself out of it. And I thought, I think I unclicked myself out. So, but there it was in my inbox. So I thought, well, he had this guarantee 30 days, I'll start to do it. And then my wife came home and she goes, no, you bought it. So I was like, oh, okay, I bought it. So I had 30 days. So I started doing this thing in the morning that we're going to walk people through. And my wife was like, what are you doing? And because people were finding me, all of a sudden people were finding me. And a doctor from Bellingham, where we live in the Pacific Northwest, he just found me, and he found me from a website that wasn't even up anymore. And he was quoting exact words out of this website that wasn't up. And I'm like, okay. And he was sending me people. He said, I don't know. He wanted to send me people for a certain type of therapy, but it wasn't stuff that I did. It just, I had those kind of practitioners in San Diego. He said, I don't care. I like you. I'm going to just send you people anyway. And they loved it. So I was doing this, and then I started doing it with my clients. And some clients were going, oh, this is an old Zen technique. Oh, this is an old yogi technique. I was at the farmer's market, and this guy was blowing balloons, and he had been at a Buddhist monastery for the summer. And he said that it was on a cliff, and he was afraid of heights his whole life. But what he did was this process. And by the end of the summer, he was no longer afraid of heights, and he was sitting over the edge of the cliff, enjoying the view. And the process was the same one. And so I asked him, I said, what is that? Because this business coach showed me, and everybody's telling me it's from all these ancient traditions. And he goes, oh, this is the oldest meditation. And so I looked it up, and it looks like what Buddha used. So I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool. So it became what I do. But so that was the story. And then I started to backfill it in and go, wow, David Hawkins talks about it in this book from 2012. And I was starting to reread The Power of Now. And in the introduction, Eckhart Tolle tells you exactly about it. And Deepak talks about it. Yep. And I went back to my Qigong master, who I've been with for 17, 18 years, Ming Tong Gu, and a couple of years ago. And I realized, oh my God, he was telling me to do it for 17 years, and I missed it. But Christian was the one that kind of got me interested, because I needed to change some things around money. And so I don't know what the question was, but that's how I found this process. And I think it's like David R. Hawkins says, he said, the reason most people don't do it is because it's so simple. And I think my mind for sure, I think everybody's kind of like this, right? Like, we want to make it so important and so much like a process, and we want to know why it's there and what caused it, and but didn't my mom do this, or didn't this happen with my past, or I saw failure. We want to have this whole story and figure it out, but it's like this process is so much simpler. So we're going to, at some point today, we'll just definitely just show people this thing. But that was my experience with it. It's like, it's been and I still use all my training, and the matrix energetics is cool, because the idea with this process is we're not really doing anything. We'll walk people through it, and it's like, well, don't you have to do something to make this go away? It's kind of like not doing anything in a very precise way and paying a lot of attention. And it's kind of like matrix energetics, because with that, people say, how do you do this energetic healing thing? Like, how do you do it? Do you channel it? Does something happen? Do you have to fix something? And it's like, no, it's kind of like you're the announcer at a football game, and you're giving the play-by-play as you watch it happen. So, and for some reason, that watching it happen thing is part of this process. So there's a way to just be, like they say in the Bible, be still and know I am God. There's a way to be still in a real precise way, and it's real simple, but it's easy to get off track. And that's the world we came into, is finding this thing, and we'll show people in a second.
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons why it's not done as much is because a lot of times we don't want to sit with those feelings. We don't want to be feeling not great. We are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. And as Christian says, every fear is a fear of a feeling. And so when you are allowing yourself to feel what it is that you feel, and this is one of the 7 magic phrases that I use, it's okay to feel what I'm feeling. You then accept what it is in that moment, knowing, and this is another magic phrase, it's temporary. It's not going to be forever. It will move through. And as you acknowledge it, and as you know, it's said in Matrix Energetics, you notice what you notice, and just being present. And I think just being present is the one thing that really can start to unravel and unlock all of these things that we have been avoiding or denying or refusing to feel. And part of this whole getting present thing is getting out of the mind where we all live all the time. You know, that's just natural humanness, if you will. We're in beta most of the time. And when we get present, we not only slow down our brain waves, but we really do get in touch with the autonomic nervous system, and we can regulate and balance and bring everything back into homeostasis just through this process alone. And so it's so powerful, and it, you know, to use the expression, it kills 2 birds with 1 stone. It really does. You are benefiting yourself and your body by doing this work and healing. And then the other benefit too, as I always tell everybody, is even if it doesn't feel like you're doing anything, like nothing's happening, the fact that you are just sitting down and making a commitment to do anything to heal yourself, you are putting very, very powerful ripples out into the universe. Because when one person heals, we help all to heal. And again, going back to Dr. David Hawkins in the book Power versus Force, he talks about the different levels of human consciousness and how when you're vibrating at love, the frequency of love, which very, very, very few people will ever actually get to, but that frequency, and it's calibrated, I think, at 540, that frequency has a possibility to cancel out up to 750,000 people's lower vibrations. So that's like mind blowing. So all of the work that you do, that you put in, as you know, as little as it may seem to you, is making a massive difference on the entire collective consciousness. So if that's not a reason to heal, then I don't know what is. And just knowing that when one person hurts, we all hurt, and when one person heals, we all heal. So with that being kind of the background here, why don't we get to it? I would love to have you take us through the process.
I will, and one thing that kind of goes with that too is something else really magical happens as this happens. And if you haven't heard of Dr. Zach Bush, he's really cool, but he talks about the whole planetary thing, and he takes it from he goes into some really cool places. And this other guy, a chiropractor, Dr. Patrick John Tempo, is one of his friends, and he said, "Yeah, my friend Patrick said." You don't even have to try to enjoy your life. Just notice your life. And it reminds me of a book that Ryan Holiday had where he talked about an art installation that I think her name was, I might get it wrong, Marina Abramonoff, some artist from that was in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And her whole installation was the artist is present. And her whole thing was for days on end. She would get to the Met, and then she would sit in a chair, and there was another person there was people lining up, and the whole thing was they would sit there, and she would be completely present with that one person, and then they would be done, and then she would like regather herself, and then the next person, and she was just present with humans for, I think there was 750 people in a row over a few day period where her whole thing was to be present. The artist is present. And people reported that it was like the most mystical, spiritual thing of all time to be in somebody's presence that's completely present with them. And what I noticed with, and this goes with matrix energetics, that notice what you notice, is you can, whatever you believe spiritually, like God, the universe, your higher self, energy, nothingness, whatever it is, you could think of it if you want, like the trees are sitting there, and you can kind of think they're kind of present to you right now. And the little animals are really present to you right now. And the wind is present to you. And it's like God is, you could think of it if you want, as being completely present to you. And so when you notice what you notice, you're being completely present to whatever that is, God, energy, spirit, everything. And so that notice what you notice, the matrix energetics words, it's probably from other people too. And like Patrick Gentempo and Zach Bush, you don't have to enjoy your life. You just notice it. And what starts to happen is you clear these emotions and stuff, but you get happy. You just get happy. And so it's not like you're trying to get rid of anxiety or depression. Something happens when you notice, like my wife says, it's really cool to notice your life. And so the process, so here it is. So that sounds, I just thought that was cool, you know?
Yeah.
So here's the process, and it's real simple. And I've got the framework for you, so we can give that to you in a bit too. So basically, you could just think of what's bugging you, and there's many different ways to do it. Like there's many ways to do it besides this way, but this is one powerful way. Just think about what's up, like what's causing your buttons to be pushed. And there's a lot of button pushing stuff right now, and I encourage you to do it right now and play this recording again, and then just start at this point and whatever your concern is, like if it's for your kids or your money or how to work, or you're out of work, or you don't know what to do because you're locked down, or you're wearing a mask and other people aren't wearing a mask, or you don't want to wear a mask and all these other people are trying to get you to mask up, and there's this vaccine and some people are like, you've got to get the vaccine, and other people are like, oh, you better not get the vaccine. It's like, and there's all these troubles and trials and what happened in Washington and everything else. So whatever, and it could be personal, just stuff like stuff's just not working, or you got to figure this thing out. So you think about whatever's up for you, and that's a good time to use the mind just for a bit. And then you stay out of your mind, you let go for a bit, and like Katie says, in your body there's stuck stuff, there's stuck emotions, there's stuck things, and it's easy to find it. Just go notice what's happening in your body, and just notice it. And some stuff might feel kind of good, some stuff might feel kind of bad. But if you didn't have it to judge anything, just notice where the most intense part is, whatever that is, and just notice it. And so now you're not trying to fix it. You're not trying to change it. You're not trying to understand it. You're not trying to get any epiphanies about it. You're not trying to make it go away. You're just going to notice it. And if you sit with it for a bit, it might take a moment. It might take a few moments. It might take a few minutes. It really takes more than an hour, sometimes 2 or 3 sessions. But whatever's causing you angst, you just sit with whatever showed up in your body, and you just notice what you notice. And you notice the most intense part of it, and you just stay with it. And that's the technique. And it's a process that you can use every day, because at some point that feeling, whatever it is, will be done. And what happens is when that feeling is done, something really magical happens. And I won't put words in your ideas right now, just so that you can have your own experience. But if you sit with it for a bit and just notice what you notice in your own body, it's kind of cool to notice your own body. That's right. That's right. And while there might be things that you see or hear or feel in other parts, what you can do is just keep your attention inside your body and notice that. And for some of you, you might already notice that it's gone. For other people, it might still be there. And so while Katie and I talk, you can kind of just keep your attention inside your body while we talk, and give your mind stuff to think about. But put your attention inside your body and just notice what you notice. And what's really cool is to test something. We didn't do it before this, but you felt a certain way before you got on with us today. And what you can do, if you like, even right now, is just walk around, see how you feel, see how you move, because you could be different right now. And I had a lady that came to me for money concerns. She wasn't getting traction in her websites and stuff. They call it funnels. And so she talked about the angst of all that, and we went in and did this thing that we just did. And what happened was she had chronic headaches like her whole life, I think, or for many years, and they were gone. And a few days later, she emailed me and said that they were still gone. She's on our website, Courtney. And a couple of weeks later, she emailed me and said that all of these opportunities came to her and her husband as their business, and unexpected, she made more money. And so it's like, what is that? So when you let go of whatever that feeling is, it opens the space to allow a lot of goodness to come in. So that's the technique. It's real simple, right? It's simple. But if people want to keep their attention on that, that's our process, right?
Yeah, and this is something I use this multiple times a day. No lie. Anytime anything comes up for me, my goal is to keep my energy very clear. And so if anything comes up for me, this is the technique that I use to clear it. And I do want to go back and just touch on something that you had said about it allowing other things to come through. Because a lot of times when we're in something, and knowing this from being someone who suffered from anxiety and depression for over 2 decades, when you're in it, it's like you can't see through the fog, right? And there's only one way out for you that you're used to, and that's by identifying and holding on and being in that comfort zone, quote, quote, comfort zone of the anxiety or depression or whatever it is that you're feeling. So you literally are cutting off all other perspectives to come to you. But when you do this particular technique, you are opening yourself up to the energy of those other perspectives. And so that's why all of a sudden, all these new opportunities came to Courtney. I've noticed this in my life. I did this process with my coach from Christian's team last week and had immediate results, like within hours of me releasing what it is that I needed to release, and then look and seeing the signs of it working. So you can get through things very, very quickly. And if you're open to seeing those results, then you will see those signs showing up in your life almost immediately. And just being aware of that goes to the notice what you notice, noticing what's different, right? And just you're in a different energy. You're leveling up, if you will, to get out of that lower level of emotions, to put yourself on even just one frequency higher. And again, looking at David Hawkins' book, Power versus Force, he has the whole scale of human consciousness. It's also in the appendix of Letting Go as well. So you can see that there's all these different layers. And when you go from, say from, I think it's anger, the next one up is pride, and then courage, it's in the middle, it's the 200s. You can feel that difference. And so that alone helps to alleviate some of those heavier symptoms that you might be experiencing. And then the more you do this, the better you feel. And you can just go straight up that scale. And it's a wonderful thing to feel all of that relief. It's like freedom. You're not bogged down by, this emotion that you happen to be caught up in the moment.
Yeah. And one thing that happens, which has been my experience with this and with my clients, is it can be so easy to miss the miracle. It's kind of like I have clients that come back and tell me all these successes of physical and other conditions and abundance and things, and I'm thinking they're going to go, wow, let's do this process again. This is it. And instead they go, sometimes they go and say, oh yeah, it's because I talked to my friend and I got real clear about stuff. And I'm like, you've been talking to your friend for 20 years. It's like, oh, it's because I did this energy thing with a certain person. And it's like, but you've been doing that for like, this many, it's like, it's so easy to miss. And I think it's because the mind sometimes goes, no, I don't want to go there, because it kind of lets go of the ego, and the ego tries to hang on and make it about something else. So that's why it's cool to have a coach. Like you and I both have coaches, and we believe in coaches, and coaches have saved my business, my life. There's a power to do this on your own, and there's a power to have somebody really precisely find where your thing is. And so both ways are useful. But yeah, so that was great to hear how you noticed changes, and I've noticed that for my clients too. And I just wanted to put that extra piece in, like, notice the miracles. It's kind of cool to test right before you do a session and right after, and you can see your physical body change. And so you're like, okay, something changed. And then keep your eyes out of what's different so you can relate it back to like, oh yeah, I think I'll do some more of that.
Yeah. And that's actually exactly what I did to pull myself out of depression. Is I specifically, and this is a whole other story for a whole other day on wording, but looking for those miracles, looking for that joy in every day, you can find it if you look for it and when you look for it, and by not bypassing those little miracles, because again, we take all of this for granted, or we say, oh, it's just a coincidence, or no, I don't really believe in miracles, or that's not for me. And then when you're open to being able to see that, you are not the same person you were when you woke up. You're not supposed to be. We're supposed to change constantly. And so by looking for those, noticing those little differences throughout your day, you are actually compounding your growth. And if you look back at, say 6 o'clock at night versus 6 o'clock in the morning, you can see a list of wins that you had for the day as far as growth. And so that's actually one of the things. Oh, there's a bonus for y'all. This is what I tell my clients to do for their anxiety: is look for your wins throughout the day, write them down, because that is actual tangible progression that you can measure. And so when you can measure your success, you're more apt to keep going because you have those benchmarks, and you can look back and you can say, well, 2 weeks ago, this was this version of me, the old version of me. 2 days ago, this was an old version of me. Today is a new version of me. How is this new version of me going to show up? And that's a very, very powerful way to get yourself in that mindset of this new person who isn't suffering from anxiety or depression or sadness or whatever it might be. And again, another topic for another day, of putting yourself into that position. But this process of letting go, this peace process, as Christian calls it, the letting go technique, as Dr. Hawkins calls it, can get you into that mindset of, maybe you don't meditate. So maybe this could be a form of meditation for you. And once you get used to feeling what you feel and being in your body and staying out of the mind and really being present and noticing those sensations, then that allows you to really harness the energy and consciously create your life moving forward of exactly how you want it to look. And I think you have done this. I know I have done this. Pretty much everybody that we know in our circle who has worked with Christian has done this. And it's just amazing results that you can get from just being present to what it is you're feeling and allowing all of that energy to move through.
Yeah. And yeah, big shout out to Christian because for some reason I kept missing it until he showed up. But yeah, then looking back, David R. Hawkins called it the surrender letting go process. Michael A. Singer has a whole couple of books about how he used it to solve all sorts of stuff that built up $1 billion company, and then he almost lost it and went to jail, and then through the whole process. And Tony Robbins now is talking about it with Michael A. Singer, and like I said, my Qigong master used it, and Buddha used it. It's like it's in every spiritual tradition I've found has this piece about being still. My friend who had a near-death experience, I asked him, what would you tell people? Like, what's the big takeaway? Like, what should they do? And he smiled because you just feel good around him. And he said, shut up and listen. And it's like, it's really interesting, but it's not so passive and just like shut up and listen, or just notice what you notice and willy-nilly just kind of float through. It's real precise. It takes some guidance, I think.
Yeah, a little bit. Yes, absolutely. And to work with, and coaches need coaches, and even everything that we do on our own, to have someone else lead us through this process makes a world of difference. So one thing that I do have for everyone as well is I recorded a sample of this process of me leading through. It's not the same as doing it live, but it will give you an idea of what it would feel like to have someone lead you through this full process. And that's up on my website, feelyourlight.com/meditations. It's, I believe I have 3 meditations up there. I think this one is called Releasing Stuck Energy. So if anybody is interested in that, you can listen to the meditation Ralph is going to be sharing his framework. Ralph is an anxiety expert, not me. Ralph is the anxiety expert. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're here to help. And then just some other really fun news from us is that we are going to be bringing this to you on a regular basis. And we're going to be starting a public Facebook community where we will be talking with each other about anxiety and also offering interviews with other people who have worked in this field and or have solved their own anxiety and or want to be maybe a case study where we can work with you on camera if you're willing to do that. This is something that we're very, very passionate about, and we have a lot of knowledge. We have a lot of connections of people who also have a lot of knowledge. And so this is just a way for us to be of service to the world. And it's something we've both been through, and we can offer our assistance for anyone who is going through something similar. Again, everybody has their own unique experiences, but if there's anything that we can offer that can help you, that's what we're here to do. So that's what this community is going to be all about. So look for that. We'll be coming. We'll both be promoting it. If you want to be a part of that, just reach out to us and we'll get that all set up.
Yeah, I'm so excited to do that with you. What a great thing. And, we'll reach out to Christian and see if he wants to come on our show and talk about his experience with it. And all the other people, the late David R. Hawkins is gone, but there's lots of people that that we can reach out to. And I love the idea of doing a case study, like taking somebody through it, and then people can see that and also put themselves in their shoes and just follow along and get the healing as that happens. And yeah, I have a free thing too. I can tell you about it a little bit if you want. So yeah, it's at Ralph Havens, that's my name, ralphhavens.com/peace process. And I did that as a shout out to Christian. So it's a 19-minute version of this process, and you can just use it again and again. And I've got the framework written down there, and also just go do it a few times through and make it part of your day. And yeah, and then join us, because I'd love to hear what people think. Like, how did it go? What did they notice today? What they want, like what you're dealing with and what you want. Because what we want to do is this stuff changed our lives, and it's so accessible. You don't have to be some amazing meditator or healer person, but it does help to have a group, and it does help to follow along with somebody. And so we're going to do this. I'm super excited to be with you and to do this with you, and just to see where this goes, because it's time to heal some stuff. So thank you. Katie, thank you.
Yes. So Ralph, thank you so much for joining me here today. I really, really appreciate this. And for anybody out there in internet land who is watching, send us your questions. We're happy to reach out to you personally or answer questions live here on our new program. So keep us posted on what you're going through, how this process has helped you, and look for us. Again, we'll be coming at you throughout the week, and we're going to be making this a regular thing. So we'll get back to you on the exact time where you can catch us and where you can find us. And then again, look for that new community that we'll be starting with as much information as we can get for you. So thank you again for joining us.
Yeah, so awesome. And yeah, tag Katie and me, and so that we can make sure we don't miss your comments. We'll respond as much as we can. Thank you, Katie. Awesome to be here with you.
Thank you, Ralph. And thank you everyone for joining us today.